check out another flagship. It's the year of the flagship here in 2021, and this one from Audeze, and it was a huge year for Audeze. They had the LCD-R, sort of ribbon driver kind of thing that they did a partnership with Shit on a specially designed amp for it. They dropped the Carbon, their first E-stat, a flagship E-stat, and the LCD-5, the top of their LCD line, their sort of flagship line. So massive year for headphones in general, but especially for Audeze here. We're going to take a look at this guy today. We're going to talk about some of the pros and cons, and also there will be a little bit of rivalry here at the end. We'll talk about kind of how this compares to the Susvara, and sort of help you kind of understand, similarities and differences. So, really focusing in here on the LCD-5 though at first. If you like LCD, if you are familiar with the LCD line, if you've had any of them, these are different. They're a circle. They're still got the circle shape. But aside from that, these feel like a wholly different headphone to hold. I don't feel the lineage or connection back to any of those other headphones. That may be a good thing and maybe a bad thing, right? Those headphones sort of allow for maybe less modern, less sophisticated production techniques, which is great as you're building a brand and building a company that focus on the drivers, focus on the stuff that's important. And I think the wood cups and everything were always very beautiful and enjoyable, but they were big and they were heavy. And these are not. These are light. Well, I mean, light's a relative term, but they're 420 grams, so at least a third lighter than I think most of their other LCDs. And they employ a lot of very high-end plastics and carbon fiber. They got this cool little tortoise pattern in there, so not without visual interest. Nice grill. They're smaller. They're much smaller, and they've got these new pads. So gone are the giant, big, plushy Audeze pads, and in come these very sculptural pads. And the diameter here, the size, is shrinking, and so you get some encroachment on the ear. I think you'll get more and more depending on your ear size. But they almost are starting to edge into on-ear versus over-ear territory, which, again, quite a departure from the Audeze LCD series. So, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. I think that's really going to come down to personal taste. If you always wanted a pair of LCDs, but you felt they were too heavy and, too giant to be seen in the world with, then maybe you're going to feel really happy about this. Or if you want to wear them all day and you're getting neck fatigue. If you really like what the LCD line is now and you feel nostalgic for it and you enjoy some of the woods and stuff, then you might be less excited about this. So I don't think it's right or wrong. I think as a brand, you have to make some of these difficult evolution versus revolution decisions at certain points in a product line, and I think Audeze has chosen to leap forward and see if the market will follow them. So they are interesting in that they are relatively low impedance, 14 ohm, but also sort of lower sensitivity at 90 dB. So I think amp pairing is going to be important if you want to get the intended voicing out of these. I tried it with a handful of amps. Some seem to have better synergy, some definitely did not advantage, I think, what's important about this headphone. So what is important about this headphone? What happens when you put this headphone on? What do you hear? You hear truth. No, you hear clarity. Clarity is the single word I would ask you to leave this review with, because that is what I think defines this headphone. It is pulling out a ton of resolution, but not only is it pulling the resolution, it is structuring the resolution. It is architecting the resolution so that you can sort of pick out any little bit of detail you want and focus on it, and it's bringing you all the detail all at once. That's not going to be for everyone. I can tell you that right now. It is, like I said, it's not that it's just retrieving the detail, it is also structuring it and pushing it forward. It is a very forward headphone. The mids definitely come forward, which makes vocals and horns very intimate, very in your head. It's got an intensity to it. The upper mids have a lot of energy, a lot of impact. They are sort of E-stat-like in that they are sort of pounding at your ears and sort of pulling you into the music. You don't ignore this headphone. It really grabs your attention. With energy in the upper mids, I think there's a a point at which it crosses the line to become shouty, right? There's a difference between like, sort of dynamic and energetic, and then just like shouty. And mostly I think this headphone controls that and finds that balance really well. There were occasionally some peaky moments where I feel like things cross that line for me, and it's not my favorite, but I think when you're trying to build that much energy into it, sometimes, the cat's going to get out of the bag. Very fast headphone. Ton of velocity, tons of acceleration. It's like a driving force with the right sort of beat-oriented, music with movement is just pushing you forward. The bass has, guess what? Impact. Maybe impact should be the word for these headphones. I don't know. The bass has like a nice defined leading edge. It's very controlled. What it doesn't have is as much weight behind it as I would like. It sort of has great leading edge, but maybe not as much follow through as I would like. That like satisfying bassy bassness, that sort of resonance that you're left with. Not as much there for my personal taste, at least. And I guess my other criticism here would be, when you set out to pull so much resolution and to define it so structurally, you inherently are going to trade off a little bit from fluidity. And music is fluid. It moves ideally, and not all genres sort of rely so much on that being part of what's important for them. But it is a bit of a trade-off. I think with all that clarity and structure, you do lose a little bit of sort of fluidity in the music. It's just, I think the tracks I enjoyed the most with this headphone were those that were more maybe beat-oriented, that were a little bit more producery, more modern music stuff that's got a lot of drive and energy, and then stuff that was meant to be more melodic and softer and subtler and fluider. Like that's the stuff that I was like, I don't know if this is the right pairing. And the intensity can get just a little fatiguing, right? It's like everything having energy and being really like close forward. It's like, that can kind of wear you down a little bit. Not as much as other headphones that I might describe with some of those words. So again, keep in mind, this is in flagship territory. We got to nitpick the heck out of these things, right? So, into the Susvara. Similarities, differences. Well, say the Susvara is, it's a bigger, less intimate listen. So the soundstage is much broader. Things are projected further out into space. Maybe more in line with other big planar experiences. Like it's definitely reaching out into space more and kind of throwing the instrumentation out around you. It's more natural in my mind. I know that word is really touchy, but it's more natural, especially evident in the upper mids, like trumpet. I'd take trumpet on the Susvara over the LCD-5 any day. The sound is overall lighter. It's less impactful. It doesn't have quite that acceleration and that intensity on the leading edge of notes. So it's just overall kind of a softer listen. So I guess I'd say you might want to start your day with the LCD-5, and you might want to end your day with the Susvara, if that makes any sense. This is your cup of coffee. This is your good night cocktail. I'm going to leave it there. LCD-5, very cool, very impressive headphone. A lot of fun to listen to. If you enjoyed this or anything else on the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Lots of fun stuff coming down the pipe, for sure. Until next time, this is Signcraft, signing out.